All right, shalom to the hopeful elect. First of all, to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah, Kodash, and double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone who teach us the truth and rule well. And peace, love, and salutation, and blessing unto the hopeful elect who are waking up to this truth and sincerely hastening the day that the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, is going to send his son, Yahweh Shai, to deliver the elect of Israel while destroying our enemies. The true Israelites are you so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, as well as those scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. Many of our people will look like the different nations under the sun, but if you've been given the gift of this truth and this faith, then your bloodline and your lineage, it goes back to the 12 tribes of Israel. Now, I'm your brother Ramak Imyan from Great Millstone, Miami. And for the topic of this lesson, I want to, go into how many of these women out here, many of them, most of these women out here will be unprotected in the most terrible times ever. They will go unprotected in the most perilous, horrible, just woeful times. And we're heading into those times which the Lord has sent out his prophets to warn everybody. We go out in the main places of concourse. We tell everybody what the Lord said that he's going to do. We read it out the scriptures and we see the signs coming to pass now. It won't be long before, society crashes. The economy crashes. It won't be long before blackouts. It won't be long before grid failures. It won't be long before false flag attacks. It won't be long before, concentration camps. It won't be long before your Publixes, your Whole Foods, your grocery stores suddenly appear empty. And the scriptures tell you, it warns about these things. And we see the signs, though. See, the Lord got his men watching. We're watching for it, believing in and having respect unto the Lord's word. We're seeing these things happen in the current events. We're seeing these things happen around us, to where we know it's going to get real ugly out here. Jacob's trouble, as Jeremiah chapter 30 says, it's going to get real ugly. And a lot of women will be out here unprotected. They won't have a man to protect them. They will be out here alone, desolate, in the time in which people have already lost their minds, but it will be sedition. It will be people breaking into each other's houses for the lack of bread. It will be a lot of death and destruction, a lot of famine. It will be a lot of desperation, and a lot of women just going to be in the worst position to be, because in times like that, the worst position is to be a woman, especially a woman who is unprotected. While the Lord will be protecting his men and the women that are with his men. And his men are the elect, and the woman that will be with his men are the elect women. So the elect means, another word for the elect is remnant, synonymous with the remnant that the scriptures speak of. So most of these men out here are going to die, and the men of the Lord will be the last men standing. And most of these women are going to die. A lot of people, they get mad at us. Oh, why are you talking about women like that? Look, we talk all the time about how the Lord's about to destroy a whole bunch of these men. He's about to destroy a whole bunch of these women as well. Now, let me get this. Isaiah chapter 13, verse 12. It says, I will make a man more precious than fine gold, even a man than the golden wedge of Ophir. Right. That's how the Lord's going to make a man. And who's going to be more precious than the golden wedge of Ophir? That's the men of the Lord. Not no regular Joe Schmo, non-believing, effeminate, wicked nigga or wicked heathen out here. That is talking about an elect man who has been serving Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, who has been watching for these prophecies, who the Lord is going to be dealing with and protecting in these last days. And those men are going to be as a covering, as rivers of water in the day when it's famine and dearth, Now, verse 13, it says, therefore I will shake the heavens, and the earth shall remove out of her place, in the wrath of the Lord of hosts, in the day of his fierce anger. And that's ultimately nuclear missiles are going to come down upon Babylon the Great, which is America, to burn her up from sea to shining sea. And the scriptures tell us a woman shall be saved in childbearing, meaning a woman who's going to be saved will be saved while being in the act of childbearing with a man of the Lord, you know. But verse 14, it says, and it shall be as the chased roe, and as a sheep that no man taketh up. They shall every man turn to his own people, and flee everyone into his own land. That's how bad it's going to get. You know, that's how bad it's going to get. Because America, which is Babylon the Great, before it's all said and done, is going to be the worst place to be on the planet Earth. Before it even get nuked, it's going to be the worst place to be. You know, it's going to get real cruel and dark and draconian and terrible. You know, this place is going to get plagued. Yeah, the Lord is going to plague this place, you know, with heavenly plagues at that, like he plagued ancient Egypt. But verse 15, it says, everyone that is found shall be thrust through, and everyone that is joined unto them shall fall by the sword. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of killings in the streets. It's going to be a lot of summary execution. It's going to be quarantines, people sick and people just being destroyed, you know, because they caught a sickness, whatever disease or diseases that they put out there. You know, it ain't going to be 911 and hospitals and ambulances that you could just call. No, the times we coming into is the worst time ever since there was a nation. You know, so men, women, children going to die in these last days. That's why it's important to return back to Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai. The Lord sent his prophets out, you know, not those who just know that they're Israelites, but they teaching wayward false doctrines. The men who are occupied in prophecies, who's warning you through the names of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, warning you of the times to come, who go into Jacob's trouble, who go into the hour of temptation, which is the mark of the beast, in which the implantable microchip will be enforced. You won't be able to buy or sell without it. Those are the men that you're supposed to listen to, you know. Now, verse 16, it says, their children also shall be dashed to pieces before their eyes. Their houses shall be spoiled, and their wives ravished, you know. And, you know, just being out in this world and working, you know, working at your job and all that, and just seeing the state of the American woman. And, you know, especially, you know, the so-called black woman, so-called Latino, and so-called Native American woman. But the American woman is so proud, and they believe that they are exempt from judgment. It's like they truly have fooled themselves to believe that they don't get judged. You know, like they could just show their ass and treat people how they want to treat them. And for you so-called black women who have subscribed to this, you don't need a man. You're going to need a man in these last days. And even those who do have men, if those men are of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, if those men are of the elect, if the Lord ain't dealing with those men, they gonna die. You know, they ain't gonna be able to protect these women that you got with because of strictly his bank account, who you committed adultery on him anyways, you know, or you got with because of this or that. The Lord is only dealing with his men. That's why I said again in verse 12, I will make a man more precious than fine gold. That's a man of the Lord, because the man of the Lord is going to be protected by the Lord and will be able to be a covering and protection for the woman that's with him. Here's 2 Ezra chapter 16, verse 34. It says, now I start at verse 33. It says, the virgins shall mourn, having no bridegrooms. The women shall mourn, having no husbands. Their daughters shall mourn, having no helpers. In the wars shall their bridegrooms be destroyed, and their husbands shall perish of famine. Right? So even those who are, you know, married, you know, or have men, a draft is coming. We are on the cusp of World War III, you know? That's why ultimately, man, you got to get with a man of the Lord. You know, if you have a man, you got to stick with him. But a lot of these men are going to die. You know, The virgins going to mourn having no bridegrooms. Women shall mourn having no husbands. And a lot of these women don't have husbands anyways. Especially the so-called black woman. Is just the truth. It is just the truth. It is the statistical truth. You know? If they got somebody they messing with or their third boyfriend this year and shit pop off, nobody's going to look out for them. When shit pop off, nobody's going to care about them enough to fight off, people, who are desperate to get to them. No. All these single women stay by themselves and, feel like they could do it on their own. Look, the times they be coming into, it ain't the time for that. It ain't. And you done treated this man bad and this man, you show your ass to him and shit pop off, ain't gonna be thinking about you. So now it's time for these women to really get in order and in the spirit of repenting. Because the ultimate protection is who? Yahweh Shem Yahushai. Because you may have sisters out there who are listening and who are repenting, who the Lord brought to hear this truth. And the Lord got them covered. The Lord gonna send them a man of the Lord's gonna make sure they're protected. You have women who are widows and their husband died in the truth. And the Lord got them covered. But for these women who are not in the spirit of repentance, who are not in the spirit of being contrite, who are not in the spirit of being submissive to a man of the Lord, it's going to be ugly for them. It's going to be a whole lot of raping. It's going to be a whole lot of abductions. It's going to be a whole lot of... It's going to get real bad. It's going to get real bad when that 911 doesn't work anymore. It's going to get real bad when that food stamp don't work no more. When your bank card don't work no more. We talk about the food stamps. Man, soon enough, your debit card ain't going to work. The banks is going to be over with. It's going to be real bad when the lights don't come on. When water doesn't come out the faucet. And you ain't got no man to help you. It's going to be real ugly. And the prophets have been out and warned. Verse 34 says, in the war shall their bridegrooms be destroyed, and their husbands shall perish of famine. Because if their husbands ain't men of the Lord, they're going to perish. We are in the times in which the Lord is going to exalt those and protect those who have been seeking him and serving him. And to the rest of them, the Lord going to say, F you. Because the Lord is bringing these times. He's bringing the destruction. So Isaiah 3, and really, man, Isaiah 3, see, these women so proud when the Lord has a whole part of the scriptures speaking against the Israelite woman. Isaiah chapter 3 really could start at verse 16. Moreover, the Lord said, because the daughters of Zion are haughty and walk with stretched forth necks and wanton eyes, walking and mincing as they go and making a tinkling with their feet. And look at them. Just log into Instagram. Or just go to the store. Just look how they always going out clubbing. Haughty necks, wanton eyes. Always doing, looking like harlots. Really. A chick could have on her bio that she went to this school, got a PhD, or she a RN, but 75% of her pictures, she's half naked. That's how bad it has gotten. She'll have Proverbs 31 on her bio, on her Facebook or her Instagram. But when you look at it, look at her page, she's the opposite of Proverbs 31. Won't be submissive to a man, but tell you straight up she can't be submissive to a man. Harlots, promiscuous. Verse 17 says, therefore the Lord will smite with a scab the crown of the head of the daughters of Zion, and the Lord will discover their secret parts. And the Lord has already smote their scab. That's why they don't have long hair like that. For the most part, the so-called black woman has lost her hair. Even all the tribes, they're not in the form that they used to be, and in the form that they're going to be in the kingdom. But this judgment has to happen first. But I want to skip down to verse 24. And it shall come to pass that instead of sweet smell, there shall be stink. And instead of a girdle or rent, because we coming into a time in which female hygiene products, that going to be extra hard to find. Ain't going to be none. The prophets told you the store's going to be empty. You know? It's going to be crazy. It's going to be chaotic out here. And these women going to be by themselves. And it's going to be a great stink. Stinkier than most of them already are. You know? Because a lot of these women don't know how to take care of themselves, man. Not in this Western world. And they so proud because the system is set up for women worship. You know? Even though bitch could be 500 pounds. The system sets up that a nigga got to worship her. But it shall come to pass that instead of sweet smell, there should be stink. And instead of a girdle, a rent. And instead of well-set hair, baldness. And instead of a stomacher, a girding of sackcloth. And burning instead of beauty. Right. So, hey, all these so-called bad bitches and this and that. All that shit finna crumble. I mean, Micah 7:10 says, she that's your enemy, she gonna see when the Lord put his men on a level. And the man of the Lord is gonna see her trotting down as the mire of the street, as the mud, as the dirt, just trotting down, looking through and ugly, undesirable, and probably got the chip, the mark of the beast. Ain't nothing that a brother could do for you. You just through. Look at you. You know? Verse 25, thy man shall fall by the sword and thy mighty in the war. And her gates shall lament and mourn. And she being desolate shall sit upon the ground. These women going to be desolate. No help from Esau because Esau done turned on you. And we already seeing it, you know. And no help from a man because these men ain't, your men done died in the wars. Or a man ain't going to care about you. He over there trying to get him a fucking piece of bread. You know, he ain't got time for you. That's why Isaiah 4:1, that's a major reason why Isaiah 4:1 is going to happen. You know, for the Lord to bring in the elect lady who's going to be submissive, who's going to come to a man, and who's going to be worthy to come to a man of the Lord. 7 women going to come to a man. You know, sure, I'll just read it. And in that day, Isaiah 4:1, and in that day 7 women shall take hold of one man. 7 is the number of completion. And that man is the man of the Lord. Saying, we will eat our own bread and wear our own apparel. Only let us be called by thy name to take away our reproach. Right, it's going to get to a point where a woman going to be willing to share. And the Lord is only going to allow that for the elect woman. Predestined to get with a man of the Lord. Who's going to be able to submit. You know? But most of these women is going to die out here. Most of these women is going to have to go through the worst times of all because it's horrible as ever. This is the unrighteous generation. This is the wickedest generation that includes you women. So the Lord got it out for the women too. You know? So yeah, a lot of women going to be unprotected in these last days. So you women hear this truth. Repent. You know, get with the Lord's plan. You know? So with that, I give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakudash, and double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. And peace, love, and salutations to the hopeful elect. Kwame Yasharala, Shalom.